Amara and Tunde stand amidst the chaos of Lagos market, their eyes locking in recognition, the vibrant stalls filled with fruits, fabrics, and traders bustling around them, but their attention is solely on each other, rekindling the spark of their past love. In a secluded, shadowed corner of the vibrant market, Tunde leans in close to Amara, whispering his daring plan for a heist as the noise of the market fades into the background, leaving only the tension between them. Amara and Tunde stand shoulder to shoulder, their eyes scanning the market from the shadows, analyzing every detail of the bustling crowd, golden jewelry glinting under the sun from the trader stalls as they map out their heist. On the rooftop of an old building, Amara and Tunde face each other against the backdrop of a sunset over Lagos. The weight of their plan hangs between them as Tunde tries to reassure her, but the distance in her eyes speaks of doubt. In a dimly lit alleyway, Tunde and Say stand close, hatching plans for the heists. Say smirks, leaning against a graffitied wall, while Tunde stands tall, his arms crossed, discussing the details of the job. In a garage filled with car parts and oil stains, Bimbo stands next to her souped-up car, a confident smirk on her face as she crosses her arms, ready to join the heist. Tunde and Amara watch her from a distance, impressed by her swagger. In a small, dimly lit room, the group huddles over a hand-drawn map of the market, the tension palpable. Bimbo holds a stopwatch, Say twirls a keychain, and Amara looks at Tunde with uncertainty as they prepare for the biggest job of their lives. On a rooftop, under the soft glow of the city lights, Amara and Tunde sit side by side, gazing into the distance. The stars twinkle above them as they whisper about the life they hope to build after the heist, love and fear intertwined in their hearts. In the heart of the crowded Lagos market, Sei causes a commotion, knocking over a stack of goods, drawing the attention of the guards, as the noise and chaos of traders and shoppers amplify around him. Inside the dimly lit tent filled with gold jewelry, Tunde works quickly, his eyes darting toward the entrance as he stuffs glittering necklaces and bracelets into a bag, every second bringing him closer to danger. Tunde and Amara weave through the crowded market, dodging between stalls, their faces filled with panic as a guard chases them. Shoppers turn in confusion as the duo sprints toward the getaway car. Bimbo's car races through the narrow streets of Lagos, dodging fruit cars and pedestrians. Her expression is intense, the city blurring around her as Tunde and Amara hold on tight in the back seat, the sound of screeching tires filling the air. Inside a dim, run-down apartment, the group slumps into chairs and onto the couch. The room is small and cluttered, lit only by a single flickering bulb. As they catch their breath, the bag of gold resting on the table, their faces a mix of relief and anxiety. In the dimly lit hideout, Say holds up a sparkling golden necklace, a greedy grin stretching across his face. The others watch silently as the treasure glints under the light, each of them contemplating the weight of their actions. Tension fills the small room as Say angrily gestures at the bag of gold, his voice raised, while Tunde, resolute, stands firm. Amara, caught in the middle, tries to calm the situation, the dim light casting deep shadows on their faces. The group quietly slips into a car under the cover of darkness, the streets of Lagos stretching out before them, lit only by the distant glow of street lamps. Bimbo grips the wheel, ready to drive, while Amara and Tunde exchange a tense glance in the back seat. In a small, dusty village surrounded by open fields, Amara and Tunde stand at the entrance of a dilapidated house. The village is quiet, with distant mountains under a cloudy sky offering a brief respite from their dangerous journey. In the cramped, dimly lit hideout, Bimbo and Say exchange tense glances, their distrust evident. The air is thick with suspicion as Bimbo stands by the window, her gaze sharp, while Say fidgets uncomfortably. In a shadowy corner of the hideout, Amara presses herself against the wall, eavesdropping on Bimbo and Say as they plot, their hushed voices filled with tension, unaware that they are being overheard. In the dimly lit hideout, Say and Tunde grapple violently, knocking over a chair in their struggle, while Amara stands frozen in fear. The room is chaotic, filled with the sound of fists hitting and furniture clattering. In the aftermath of the fight, Tunde watches Say disappear into the night, his figure fading into the darkness. Amara and Bimbo stand behind him in the doorway, the tension between them thick as they contemplate their next steps. The car races down a winding, empty road under a starless sky, the headlights cutting through the darkness. Inside, the group sits in tense silence, their faces illuminated by the dashboard light as they flee into the unknown once again. In a remote village surrounded by vast, empty fields, The group huddles outside a decrepit house under a cloudy sky. The village feels abandoned, the silence only broken by the distant rustling of wind through the trees. Inside the dimly lit room, Bimbo lowers her phone, delivering the grim news as Amara and Tunde exchange worried glances. The weight of betrayal hangs heavy in the air, the room filled with quiet tension. In the dim glow of a single lantern, the group huddles around a table, plotting their escape route out of Nigeria. The map is filled with scribbled notes and marked checkpoints. As Tunde points out their next move, the tension thick in the air. Under the soft glow of a fading sunset, Tunde and Amara stand together in silence, their hands intertwined as they look out at the road ahead. The weight of their journey hangs between them, but the promise of a new future keeps them moving forward. Moving through thick moonlit woods, Tunde, Amara, and Bimbo trek silently toward the border, their figures casting long shadows in the dark forest. The atmosphere is tense, every step taken with caution as they leave their old lives behind. In the bustling streets of Lome, the group stands in a crowded square, blending into the flow of people. The exhaustion of the journey is etched on their faces, but the promise of a new beginning keeps them moving forward through the crowd. Inside a dimly lit room filled with papers and cigarette smoke, the ghost sits behind a desk, sizing up the group with a sly smile. Bimbo stands at the front, speaking calmly, while Amara and Tunde stand slightly behind her, tense but hopeful for the future he promises. In a dimly lit room, the ghost leans back in his chair, surrounded by clutter. As Tunde and Bimbo negotiate, their voice is steady but cautious. Amara stands slightly behind, watching nervously, her hands gripping her scarf tightly. Outside a nondescript building in the quiet streets of Lome, the group stands in a circle discussing their next steps. The streetlights cast long shadows, and the air is thick with tension as they contemplate the risks involved in trusting the ghost. In the dimly lit room filled with smoke, Tonda and Bimbo speak carefully, recounting the story of the heist while the ghost leans back, a sly grin on his face, satisfied with the tale as he begins to prepare their new documents. In a cramped, dim apartment, Amara gazes out the window with a worried expression, while Tunde paces nervously. The weight of waiting for their new identities looms over them, and the room is filled with quiet tension, as Bimbo remains calm, watching the clock. Sitting together on a small couch in their dim apartment, Amara leans on Tunde's shoulder, her eyes closed as she dreams of the future. Tunde smiles gently, wrapping his arm around her, as the weight of the past momentarily fades away. Inside the ghost's dim office, Bimbo carefully examines the new documents, her expression focused. Amara and Tunde stand behind her, tense with anticipation, as the ghost leans back, a satisfied smile on his face, knowing he has delivered what they need. In the quiet of their apartment, Amara and Tunde sit together on a small bed, their new passports in hand. The dim light from the window illuminates their faces as they look down at their new names, contemplating the fresh start that lies ahead. In the small, dim apartment, Bimbo stands at the door, her hand on the knob, ready to leave. Tunde and Amara stand together, their bags at their feet, exchanging a final glance of gratitude and sadness, knowing their paths will soon diverge. In the dimly lit apartment, the group sits around a small table, sharing one last meal together. The atmosphere is bittersweet as Bimbo raises her glass in a quiet toast, and Tunde and Amara exchange a look of both hope and sadness for the road ahead. On a crowded bus leaving Togo, Amara and Tunde sit side by side, gazing out the window at the road stretching into the distance. The sunlight streams through the windows, casting a soft glow on their faces as they leave their past behind. In the vibrant streets of Accra, filled with people and market stalls, Amara and Tunde walk side by side, blending into their new life. The colors of the city swirl around them, and for the first time in a long while, there's a sense of calm on their faces. Sitting together on the small balcony of their apartment, Tunde holds Amara's hand, reassuring her with quiet words as the sun sets behind them. Amara leans on him, her face filled with uncertainty, but she allows herself to be comforted by his presence. In the small, dimly lit apartment, Amara stands by the window, glancing nervously at the street below, her hands trembling as she watches for signs of danger. Behind her, Tunde sits at the table, his face filled with quiet concern as he realizes the weight of her fear. In the darkness of their bedroom, Tunde sits up abruptly in bed, his chest heaving from a nightmare. The room is silent except for his ragged breathing as he gazes out the window, haunted by memories of the man he killed during the heist. In the small apartment, Amara stands her ground, her voice tense as she argues with Tunde, who paces back and forth, trying to find a way to ease her doubts. The room feels heavy with tension, as their once shared dream seems to slip further from their grasp.
In the bustling market, Amara stands frozen for a moment, her basket of goods hanging from her arm. As she glances over her shoulder at the man who has been following her, the noise of the market fades away as fear takes hold of her, the man's presence looming ominously in the background. Inside their cramped apartment, Tunde hurriedly stuffs their belongings into bags, while Amara stands at the window, her face tight with fear as she watches for any signs of the man who's been following her. The room is filled with the frantic energy of two people ready to flee.
As the bus rumbles down the road, Amara and Tunde sit side by side, looking out at the passing landscape. Their faces are solemn, filled with a quiet resolve as they leave the familiar streets of Accra behind, venturing into the unknown once more. In the quiet, rural village, Tunde and Amara sit together on the porch of a small, weathered house. The sun sets in the distance, casting a golden glow over the fields, as Tunde speaks softly to Amara, trying to reassure her despite the weight of their past.
Inside their small, dimly lit house, Amara breaks down, her tears falling silently as Tunde sits beside her, his face heavy with guilt. The room feels suffocating, filled with the unspoken weight of their shared secrets as they confront the darkness that has followed them.
In the dimly lit room, Amara sits across from Tunda, her voice steady but filled with sorrow as she tells him that they need to turn themselves in. Tunda, his hands clasped tightly together, looks down at the floor, the weight of her words pressing heavily on him.
In the quiet stillness of their small home, Tunde finally nods in agreement, his face filled with the weight of their decision. Amara sits beside him, her face a mix of relief and sadness as they prepare to face the consequences of their past. As they walk through the bustling streets of Lagos, Tunde and Amara move with quiet determination, their faces filled with a sense of finality. The city buzzes with life around them, but they are focused solely on the path ahead, ready to face their fate.
Inside the stark, fluorescent lit police station, Tund and Amara stand together, their heads held high as they turn themselves in. The officers, caught off guard, begin to react in surprise as the couple calmly confesses their involvement in the heist. In a packed courtroom filled with reporters and spectators, Amara and Tunde sit together in the defendant's box, their hands clasped tightly as the prosecutor speaks. The air is thick with tension, their faces filled with quiet determination as they await the verdict.
In the hushed silence of the courtroom, the jury foreman delivers the verdict, and Amara and Tunde sit in quiet acceptance. The room buzzes with murmurs, but the couple remains calm, prepared to face the consequences of their actions.
In the grand, imposing courtroom, the judge delivers the life sentence as Amara and Tunde stand side by side, their hands clasped. The weight of the sentence hangs in the air, but they remain steadfast, prepared to face the long road ahead. In their separate prison cells, Tunde and Amara sit quietly, writing letters to each other. The dim light from a small window casts soft shadows on their faces as they hold on to their connection, despite the physical separation. In front of the parole board, Amara and Tunde stand side by side, speaking of their regrets and the lessons they've learned. Their faces show the passage of time, but there is a quiet strength in their voices as they plead for a second chance. Under the warm glow of the afternoon sun, Tunde and Amara walk out of the prison gates hand in hand, their faces filled with quiet joy and hope as they step into their newfound freedom, ready to rebuild their lives together. On a quiet road bathed in golden sunlight, Tunde and Amara walk hand in hand, their hearts light as they look ahead to their future together. The long journey behind them has finally led to freedom, and they step forward with hope into whatever comes next. Outside their small house nestled in a quiet village, Tunde and Amara stand hand in hand, gazing out at the rolling hills and clear sky. The peaceful surroundings reflect the sense of calm that has finally come into their lives as they embrace the simplicity and joy of their new beginning.